Bellingham, outstanding.
Jobe, outstanding.
That's a safe look.
Jobe Bellingham, na 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 na. Jobe Bellingham, Bellingham, Jobe Bellingham, na 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 na.
Hello and welcome back to an absolutely buzzing What the Falk podcast on a Saturday when it just feels absolutely class to be a Sunderland fan, and it's been probably a little bit longer than I've wanted. It's probably been a little bit too long since I've said that, should I say, but I am very happy and I can't even get my words out. A poor first half performance at Swansea was absolutely flipped on its head as a stunning second half comeback from Sunderland meant we came back from 2-0 down to take all 3 points in Wales. And we're definitely going to enjoy your weekends after that one. Joining me is a new look lineup. First and foremost, I'll give you the old ugly faces in order, the ugliest of them all. Dave Lawrence. Dave, how are you doing, mate? Are you well?
Hello, my name's Ross. Nice to meet you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, all good, mate. You can call us as ugly as you want after we've just won like that in Wales. So nothing really matters. Nothing's going to hurt me. Sticks and stones. Unlucky Swansea.
And second ugliest of all, Dave's son, Ross Black. Ross, how are you doing? Are you all right?
I don't know which part of that offended me more, if I'm honest. But buzzing, pretty much
I've
what Dave
definitely
said.
pulled out. Don't worry, Ross.
I've got nothing more to say to that one. Graham, you can edit that out. Or you can leave it in.
I'm going to edit it out.
3, 2, 1. Buzzing. We did very well. Second half, so you can't ask for much more. And today, to be fair, showed us more about us as a team, in my eyes, the character we've shown than any of the games beforehand, even the ones where we won comfortably. Today was massive mentally, I think, for the season going forward, and just buzzing that it was one that I didn't expect to see, especially 2-0 down. Nobody's seen that coming, I don't think.
Nah, not at all. Brad, I feel like it's been quite a while. I don't think it has actually been as long as I thought, but how are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Really good after watching that today. I think after the Coventry game, it was the stereotypical game of two halves. It was the same today, but just flipped the other way around, thankfully. But yeah, I'm buzzing with that result. It caps off a solid week for us. 7 points out of 9. Wasn't the way I really thought we would have got them. I thought we would have won the 2 home games and got a draw today, but yeah, I'm delighted with 7 points out of the 9, and we move on to the busy period next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, we've got a professional guest. It's the very own Sunderland Echo's James Copley. You've chosen a really good week to join us, Copley, mate. How are you doing? You all right?
I'm good, thank you. I don't think my colleagues would agree with the professional moniker, but we'll go. I'm sure if you ask Phil, he would at least describe me as a professional. I was thinking, actually, Graham, the last time I was on What the Falk was, I think it was Boxing Day, Michael Beale's Sunderland had beaten Hull City 1-0. And we were saying how much we rated that Michael Beale had been quite magnanimous and played the wind down. And then a couple of weeks later, he went absolutely nuts at a press conference and called Sunderland fans all a name under the sun, really. And it ended well for him, didn't it? So I hope Regis Labrie is around a little bit longer.
Yeah, me too, mate. I was thinking that before, and I was like, "Oh no!" Look, I'll stick with you. Copy on the first one. You're the newest, so you'll get the first question. It wasn't a perfect 90 minutes. Let's not kid ourselves, but it's a cracking result. It's 9 p.m. on a Saturday. We've come back from 2-0 down. I've got a few whiskies inside of me, but like, how important is that result? Like, in the context of A, how it came, and B, how much it topped our week off.
I think it's really important, especially for such a young group, obviously going 2-0 down away from home. You can sink, can't you? I mean, the average age in that midfield's about 19 or something stupid. You've got Mayenda playing out on the left when he's a striker, really, and then he's playing on the opposite flank to what he should be because of injury. So I think it's hugely heartening. I mean, they were god-awful for large parts of it, weren't they? Like, they were so bad. That first half was an abomination. And to be honest, I thought it was going to be a very Sunderland performance in terms of the old Sunderland, if you know what I mean. But I think that does wonders for the confidence and just like, fair play for digging that out and coming back. I mean, they managed to get a goal even though they weren't playing very well in the first half. Second half, I thought that slightly improved, but I didn't think they were like really, really good or anything. And then Dan Neil pops up with an absolute screamer. I had been sort of working the way back into the game, but I was still sat there thinking like, aye, we're gonna lose this. It's just gonna be one of those days. But I mean, fair play to Dan Neil as well, because there's a lot said about his captaincy. There's a lot written about him on social media. He's played today with an illness which has been going around the group, which affected '09 and Roberts, and he's pulled one out of the top bins, like unbelievable. He's 23 yesterday, I think, and I think that's one of those games where like your captaincy sort of made people start to realise that actually he's a really good player, playing out of position as well. By the way, I think he showed really today what type of player he actually is, and it's not sad, but it's needs must, isn't it? That sort of necessitated that he's in that sixth role. Obviously, if Samed had been fit, it might have been a little bit different. But yeah, delighted to win like that. To be honest, I mean, away from home against Swansea, it's a long trip. Half your squad's ill. You've gone 2-0 down and you've still managed to win 3-2 in front of a class away end. Like, they've got to be buzzing after that. Like, imagine being part of that Sunderland team today and being 19 or 18 or 17 and like you've just gone and done that in front of that crowd. Like, it's insane, really. Like, I mean, we're buzzing just sat here, haven't watched it. Like, imagine how they feel. Like, Christ.
Yeah,
Fair play to them. Like, fair play to them. Who'd have thought like bringing Luke O'Neill on at left back would change the game? Like, who had that on the bingo card for today?
The Luke O'Neill effect was not certainly expected from left back, but Ross, much of what Copley said we can't really kind of elaborate on too much, but I think it is. Look, it wasn't a perfect 90-minute performance. Like, if we hadn't got that goal from Daniel, which we did. Like, look, it's pointless saying if we didn't. There was a lot of things that weren't right in that first half. But I think sometimes there comes a point in the season, Ross, where not just results matter, but sometimes how they come. And the fact that things did go against us, like the defending was poor for the first goal. Patterson's made a mistake. Ballard's potentially made a mistake. You kind of start to ask questions. We were asking questions in the group chat and we were kind of going, I'm not sure what's going on here. And you're looking at the form and you're going, that's 1 win in 9 or something. Like, to turn that round, no matter how it came, how late it came, is just massively character building, Ross, isn't it? And I think when you're in a battle and we're watching teams, I remember watching Leeds the other week at Swansea and I seen Swansea equalise and I thought, get in. And I seen them score that late goal and thought they didn't deserve it. I don't think they were the better side. But God, that's what's going to happen for automatic teams and teams that go up. That's kind of just what they do. We've done that today. And I'm sure we'll get on to it, Ross. But the manager from Swansea, Luke Williams, has pretty much said what we have been saying about other teams for a long, long time. What I'm trying to say underneath all the whiskey is just massive for character, that, isn't it? Just such a big thing for character for such, as Copley says, a young group.
It's huge, especially when you think of like it's the first game this season where I think if you at half time if you'd said, "Oh, we're going to win this 3-2," you'd be like, "Wow, really?" Like, let's be honest, no one seen it. Like, even in other games where with the Coventry game, you could still you kind of still said, "Yeah, we do have a bit of a soft underbelly at times defensively. We can be got at," but to actually turn the game on its head, and as James said there. Until the 70th minute, we still hadn't really showed enough in the second half for you to think like, oh God, we're going to get these right under the cosh here. And it just seemed to just like, again, Dan Neil has been, in my eyes, quite harshly treated by the fan base at times. But the past 3 weeks, 3 games, he's been unbelievable. He's been the driving force. I said him and Roberts pulled us out the shit on Tuesday with the way they drove us forward. And today, that strike from Daniel is unbelievable. And it's kind of related to the number 6 role that we're not going to see him in them positions enough. And I feel like last year he's finished against West Brom 1-on-1. He's got a lot more attacking a skill set that would suit more a 8 rather than a 6. So it's kind of hindered what we've seen the best of him as well. But it's a true captain's performance that, like you said, the last few games where we haven't been great, but we still got 4 points, and he's been a massive part of that, just pulling us out of shit. That's been very good. But also today, like you say, the 09 sub, we're all thinking like, how 09 for certain. And you've got to give Labrisa these dues, like, because he was the only one who would have seen that and thought this could make a difference, let's be honest. And it's worked. Like, nearly straight away it worked. And you're like, wow, he's seen something that we didn't, and it's changed it. And I've got to hold my hands up as well when it comes to Jobe, because we said in the group chat, I was like, I think Jobe and Rig could be doing a bit more in the final third. So, of course, to just make me look like a dick, Rig pulls it across the box and Jobe puts it in the back of the net. So, that's why I never tweet out my thoughts as well, because I'd be absolutely slated if they managed to say everything I said in that group chat.
Yeah, I mean, you'll notice I very rarely tweet during the game unless we score, so there's a reason for that. Dave, there's tons of players we could pick out, which is interesting considering what we were saying before about how the performance wasn't perfect in many ways. The result's massive. The characters are huge. The way certain players dug us out the shit. I think I agree with the Daniel assessment. I have been critical of Daniel this season, but I think on form, Daniel's our most important player. I think the past 3 weeks he's shown why I rate him so highly. I think he's done that again today, and his goals just look. It's top draw. It's absolutely top draw. The way it goes in is aesthetically pleasing as well, which is just even better. But there's players within that team, Dave, that you can pick out as having a really good performance today and dragging us out the shit as much as Daniel, or almost as much as Daniel. I just want to point out again, after I mentioned the argument I had with the lad in the Metro about Roberts not doing anything, involved in a goal yet again. So yeah, that, just putting it out there, lads, just putting it out there. But Dave, who's the one you're picking out? Because there's a few again you can pick out.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the narrative that it was a game of two halves. I think it was a game of about 10 minutes and 80 minutes, if I'm honest. I think we created our downfall with a couple of naive mistakes. We give the referee decisions to make, and the free kick's a stunning goal. But other than that, we were a bit naive at times, but I don't think we were bad. So a lot of them, I don't think Ballard was great, but he showed great desire for the goal, so I've got to give him that. Second half, I think it looked as though, to me, Labrie or whoever has come out and said, stop overplaying. Like, you're not the one. Mepham's the one who plays football. You behave yourself. So I think he did that really well in the second half.
Was it you in the group chat that says when Dan Ballard tries to take the ball out, he looks like Duncan Watmore?
No, that was Bradders.
That was me. I said it's either like Duncan Watmore, and then after a little bit, I said watching him play football with the ball at his feet, it's a bit like Benji Kimpioka. Excellent defender, but
sorry, Dan.
Yeah,
so I thought he improved massively. Roberts just didn't stop. He wasn't. I'm sure his statistics of successful crosses past the first man wasn't great, but he didn't stop, and he started the first phase before the Jobe goal. Yeah, I just think we're great. One person I'll give credit to, and also one thing I think I'd be doing, would be Wilson Isidore. He just doesn't stop. He doesn't stop, and I kind of understand why he plays him through the middle. But it wouldn't surprise me if the two of them needed a swap, him and Mayenda, because Mayenda is clearly a centre forward. Like, when he hasn't got time to strike to like dribble with the ball, he just gets his shots away nice and early. He's still young. He's still got a lot to learn. But I think Isidore's better running with the ball. So to me, the pair of them are better swapped round. But yeah, there's any number. And they did improve second half massively. I think there was a tactical tweet. Tactical tweet? There's the name. A tactical tweak. That might help, mightn't it?
It's actually called X. Thank you very much.
And I think it did play in our hands, and as you have already alluded to, 09, just extraordinary, isn't he? I think he's got to have huge credit for what did he get? 25 minutes?
Not even that, mate. I think he came on in the 72nd minute, I think it was. I think he got like 18 minutes.
Just simple things like was it the header for the Mayenda chance? Didn't think about it, realised there was like 20 yards of space in behind, and just headed it back where it came from. Mayenda's clean through, keeper's made a good save. Yeah, buzzing with it, and on to Norwich now, isn't it?
Yeah. I think if we're picking players out, look, I made the joke about Roberts before, but me and Pete went really in depth on Roberts after the Sheffield United game and said, look, for the past 3 or 4 games, he hasn't created what we're used to creating with Roberts, and he needs to fix it. He has. I can't understand the criticism that still comes for Roberts sometimes. He was involved in the goal again today. He got a goal during the week, which saves us a point. Before that, he got an assist. For me, Roberts, anything good we do tends to come through Roberts at some point. It did it again today. Look, I know he didn't get the direct assist, but he's involved in so much stuff. And I just think it's massively important. I just want to call him out because we talked about him at length, about how he needs to produce more in the past 3 games for me. He has. But Brad, one thing I thought was really interesting was that Luke Williams interview afterwards. He looks kind of angry for the first minute. If people haven't seen it, watch it. It's really interesting. He basically talks about how he thinks we're just a better team and that Swansea aren't at that level, which is a really nice thing to hear. At first, it sounds like he's calling his players out and he's having a bit of a go and just being a bit angry, Brad. But the more you listen to it, he's actually being quite matter of fact, and he's saying they're just really good. Like, the teams can do that, and when we go toe to toe, when they really turn it on, if we drop for a minute, these quality teams can punish you. But how interesting and how refreshing was that for you to hear, considering this is only our 3rd season in the Championship, and last season was a bit of a write-off, really.
Yeah, I enjoyed listening to it, actually. It's actually refreshing, even if it wasn't just talking about Sunderland and it was just something I'd watched on Sky Sports, for example. It's just refreshing to hear a manager speak honestly and not fill you with the dictionary that they all speak out of, you know what I mean? They all sort of say the same thing over and over. And it's just very refreshing. And when it's your own team that they're talking about and basically saying they're too good for us, that there's a level between the top 6 teams and then the rest of us, which he did say. It makes you start to think the rest of the division might be starting to think the same. We've played pretty much everyone now. I think there's maybe only 2 or 3 that we haven't played yet.
Blackburn, I think, being one of them, maybe.
Blackburn, Norwich, and I think that's it. And I'm going to start again. So we've played pretty much everyone. We're start 3rd in the league. I think it's nice to hear that a manager that we've just played against has said that, and it makes you do think, are there other managers in the league also saying that as well behind the scenes, off camera, and they're starting to think, you know what, Sunderland are a really, really good team. We need to respect them a lot more now. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was class. At first I watched it and was like, he's going into his players there, but the more you listen to it, the more he's just actually speaking, I think, from his own mind. I thought it was a good interview, and I think a lot of the comments underneath, even more refreshingly on YouTube, Twitter, wherever it may be, Blue Sky and all that kind of stuff, were underneath kind of saying, yeah, he's got a point. Like, Sunderland were just really good. There's not much you can do with that. Like, we're going to have easier games, and the more preview shows I do, the more when I get to last year, it was like, who's our best player? What do you think? Oh, we've got to watch Jack Clark. And that was kind of it. That's as far as it sort of went. This season, people seem to know our players more in depth. They seem to approach the game going, we know this is a tough game. You're a top 3, top 4 side. Like, if we get a draw, bonus, brilliant. Even if we're playing them away from home, the lad from Swansea, Luke, said that this week. And it's a huge compliment. And look, it's 2 wins in 8 or something like that, whatever it may be. We're not firing on all cylinders across the board, and it could have quite easily been different today, but it's not. It's not different. We won the game today. We came back from 2-0 down. I think that's massive. But Copley, you do sort of deal, well, we both sort of deal with post-match interviews and stuff like that. And, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on Luke Williams's response to that today, because I don't normally speak about opposition managers unless I'm getting annoyed by something they've said, but I thought it was really refreshing from a neutral perspective. But as a Sunderland fan, like that's one of the best things you can hear. He was saying it was surprisingly honest, but surprisingly welcome if you're a Sunderland fan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very nice to have that sort of thing said about your football team, isn't it? Especially after a win. You don't tend to say it very much. The cynic in me, and I don't know his situation at Swansea like fully, but is he trying to deflect a little bit? I don't know. Maybe that's being a bit harsh, but I think it's always nice when managers say something, because a lot of the time they can say absolutely nothing. It's a little bit of a nightmare and you're sort of scratching around for things. But Yeah, as a little aside, I remember asking Mark Robbins when he was Coventry manager last season. I think they'd beaten us and Ellis Sims had played up front, and I plucked up the question to ask if Ellis had like told them anything about Sunderland or anything like that, and he just went no and walked off. So managers can be very catchy after press conferences. So yeah, it's nice to get that sort of feedback. And I think from like a personal perspective of the football I've watched this season, particularly Sunderland games, there's only really Leeds where I've thought like we're in a bit of bother here. And that was like a 20, 30 minute spell. I think the other games in which we've picked up poor results has been mitigation. Like Plymouth, we should have done better, a couple of errors. All of those draws, there was mitigation, injury, suspensions, red cards in games. And again, could have performed better. The Sheffield United game, like I thought we played so much better than them. And I'd be so interested to see 11v11 on that. So in terms of coming into the second half of the season, it is exciting with a few additions. Um, with a few additions, I think we could go far, to be honest. Based on what I've seen, I mean, you can't always hang your hat on the return legs. Like teams like Burnley, we played them when they were out of form right at the beginning of the season. They had a bit of a disjointed squad at the time. I'd be interested to play them again away from home. Borough, we played them when they were in terrible form, and they seem to have picked up a little bit now. So the second half of the season for me will be really interesting. But like I think there was times last season where we were just blown away, weren't we? Like against like Blackburn Rovers and Sheffield Wednesday. Touch wood, I don't see that happening this season. And I think when I've seen us play the supposed best teams in the league, I think we can give them a game. And that's huge credit really to Lebris, because I don't think any of us thought we'd be in this position at the end of last season. I didn't see us being in this position when we appointed Lebris. I thought there was a lot of work to do and a long way to go, but credit to them all really, because they've bounced back from that experience last season as well, which was risky business last season because it could have easily gone the other way as well, and some of these young players could have been like seriously mentally scarred, because I know I was. So it speaks to their mentality really that they've managed to bounce back, and I mean third coming up to the Christmas festive period. I did not see that happening at all. I mean, all of the international breaks we were top, weren't we, so far? I mean, if you'd have said that at the start of the season, I would have thought you were a lunatic, to be honest. So
I think when you look at it's a really good point you've made there. I think every game, even the 3 games we've lost, we've been in. Watford, it's a silly decision from Daniel to make the tackle at the end. Plymouth, it's defensive mistakes. It's not anything that's carved us open. Sheffield United, we all remember the Sheffield United game. I think we were the better side. I think to say we deserved at least a draw. And I think it's sometimes easy, even for me, like if you listen back to the few weeks maybe before the Stoke game, it's easy to get bogged down in not winning games, and it's easy to have your expectations raised. I think if we really sit back, I could have probably had a few less whiskies like to do this and try and sit back and be calm and think about it. But here we are. It's been a great season. And I think if you hark back to just 4 years ago at points, there was a point when we didn't do a podcast after we got beat off MK Dons at home because we just didn't want to talk about the game. We were that pissed off and that sad about where the football club was going. Lo and behold, we went on a massive winning run and won at Wembley and everything was fantastic after that. But what I'm saying is it wasn't that long ago that I think sometimes you probably don't realize how good this season has been, but there's nothing wrong with having higher expectations. But Ross, to stop me from rambling, I want to ask you about Jobe Bellingham. I have been a huge fan of Jobe since the minute that he basically walked in the door and looked around the stadium like it was the best stadium he'd ever seen in his life. Look, I don't just mean talent on the pitch. I think we could talk about his talent quite easily. I think that wouldn't be a problem. I thought his post-match interview for a 19-year-old kid was just such an elite mentality. Like, it's just like this elite mentality footballer that just, when he speaks, everything he says makes sense. It's mature. It's thought out. It's not ums and ahs here, left, right, left, and centre. I just, how big of a footballer is he to have for us? Because I know sometimes he frustrates people. And I know he has the past few weeks. And I don't know if it's just me, but he's just like, he's one of the most talented, and I don't just mean on the pitch, like talented individual human beings we've had in ages. And I absolutely loved, I don't know if you've seen it, when he scores at the end, he points at the badge and he says, best club in the world, man. or something to that effect. If you watch it back, you can hear him say it. But just how big of a footballer is Jobe?
Yeah, he's an absolute man mountain, and he's only just really become a man. Like it's crazy. He just has a total aura about him on the pitch this season.
Oh, he does.
And you don't want to compare him to his brother because it's unfair for starters. But he has that presence on the field. Like
he has similarities. Look, I don't want to compare him in terms of like, is he going to be as good? Is he not? Like, I don't really care because Jude Bellingham's never going to play for Sunderland, so it doesn't really matter. Like, if they both play for England, maybe. But
it's unfair. It's unfair to compare Jude to Jobe, isn't it? Really, I mean, Jude's nowhere near the level.
Well, basically, that's what I was going to say. Yes.
What was great today is last season, he probably didn't perform as well consistently. However, the one thing he did do was he scored goals. This year, the goals he has scored, the header against Oxford was just like a run at the edge, but then the Derby goal was a screamer. So this is probably the first goal he scored this season that was very much like what he scored last season. His late arrival into the box, getting in there from crosses, coming in from the byline. And that's something, again, I'll openly admit it, I wanted him and Rigg to make more of them runs on Tuesday night when the ball was coming in. I felt like we were one man less in the middle at times. So it's good that he's getting in them positions, but also he's just like I say, you could tell he's so mature for his age, and the fact that he'd mentioned about Wilson making the runs, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like as a young lad, he's telling senior pros, "You need to do more of this." Little stuff like that. You know, he's a total leader. And I remember when the leadership group thing got mentioned at the start of the season, and Jobe was on there. Like he's not even 20-year-old yet. And a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, you know what it was like at the start of the season. He's Speakman's boy, you know what I mean? But he has shown that he's grown into a proper leader on the pitch as well. And yeah, long may it continue. And if he can add 5 more goals, I'd say, from that midfield, if he can get to double figures even, you know what I mean, getting them goals, them late runs, because you know with the wingers we've got, we're going to get balls across the box. So if you can make them late runs and get on the end of it, there's a good chance we'll see a lot of goals. Rigg should have had about 4 the past two games if it wasn't for blocks or the odd one going into Rose Ed. But yeah, there's what I like about Jobe as well is, like you say, we mentioned his mentality and all that, but he just keeps it so simple. Like he just holds them off, passes the ball, makes a run. Like he does the simple things really well, and sometimes you take it for granted for how good his performance has been this season.
Yeah, look,
first half he didn't mind. I will caveat that one. He lost the ball, didn't he? And then give a silly foul away, and that's how they got their second goal. First half, I thought he wasn't poor. He was below the standards that we've come to expect of him. But then second half, he was like a different player altogether. So credit to him for that.
You know, he said about losing the ball late, and what I quite liked about it, and he mentioned it in his post-match interview, it would have been dead easy not to. He was like, I made the mistake with a goal. He's like, and that was the bit that I found really intriguing when he was talking about how you're trying to like reassess your mentality because you've made that mistake and you're 2-0 down and you're trying to come back into it. Like it was so authentic, but at the same time, something a 19-year-old shouldn't be thinking about. Was saying, like when you're 19, you should be running about silly, being like, "Way, I'm playing football, I'm a professional footballer," and he just doesn't. And I don't know if it's his upbringing. I don't know if it's the way his family's brought him up. I don't know what it is, but there's like this inbuilt ability where like you see certain people at certain ages, and I think you go back and you watch like the greats across the world, like I don't know, like Michael Jordan, whatever it may be, and you listen to the things they said when they were kids, Kobe, if we're going to use a different sport, and the things they've said, and you just go, yeah, they had it. They had that inbuilt in themselves long before like they should have had that inbuilt. But yeah, look, I just really want to cherish Jobe whilst he's here because I think the boy's an absolute different gravy. And yeah, the whiskey's hitting hard. Dave, there was a tweet that I seen before which was really, really good and I really liked it. And it was in discussion about the way they celebrated the third goal. And it said, look, these players might lack stuff like, you know, the dark arts, they might make a mistake, they might do X, Y, and Z. They're not perfect. But when you see the way that they celebrated that goal, you know that they're giving their all for this club. And you know that they're draining every last bit of energy out of themselves. And that's what makes us, that's the least thing we ask for. And that's what makes us so proud to watch Sunderland at the minute. I thought it was a really good tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it, but how accurate is that statement that I think even when the results aren't going for us and things aren't fantastic, especially this week with the way the goals have come, the late goal from Tommy Watson, then him getting injured for 8 weeks, Patrick Roberts equalising after the criticism he's had, today coming back from 2-0 down. Like, how accurate do you think that tweet is, or how much do you agree with it that, like, no matter what, at the minute, we know the lads are given 110% every game, and it might not always come off, we might not always get the results, but like it's genuinely a team to be very proud of and a very likable set of lads, isn't it?
Yeah, I fully agree with it, but I think we've been pointing that out since Alex Neil's days. I think that's the type of player, and that has to go credit to the people in the background, as much as I sometimes hate myself for giving anybody credit who I don't like.
It does though, doesn't it? Like we've called it when we felt it should be called, but just for balance, like Speakman, KLD, and all that kind of stuff, like for where we're at the minute, you can't negate that they've not been involved in it. No matter what your thoughts are, how you feel about them as people, or the wrong decisions they made last season, which we all raised, where we're at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had the right type of personality in the club for quite a while now. In terms of playing staff, and kudos to that. I mean, even going as far as coaching staff as well, it would have been very, very easy to show Mike Dodds the door last season. They haven't. They've stuck with it.
He's quite clearly the mastermind behind all of this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He just needs a foil in the front of the picture, doesn't he? But yeah, I absolutely love the desire, the passion. It's what we're about. We've always said it. We need an extension of ourselves, and they're not going to do themselves any harm by doing that. It's brilliant. It's just nice to see people who care. When you pay good, hard-earned money to watch it, and you want to know that your investment's being looked after. And let's be honest, a lot of these lads do care about the football club. It's a really tough one. My old man said something to me the other day. He's like, "Oh, we have to go up this season, otherwise." And I was like, "Unfortunately, you have to realise that this is the model. This is what the model is. It's designed that we will get very good players, we will improve them, but there is a resaleable value." And yeah, he's probably right. If this season we don't go up, there is a few, Jobe being one of them, who are massive saleable assets. But I think they'll take a little bit of Sunderland with them, and that's a great credit to the football club, I think.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, mate. You said about the football team should always be an extension of your community and what Sunderland are. I fucking agree with that so much, like to a point where like it's almost too true for what you said there, how much I believe in it. Bloody hell, the whiskey's hitting hard, Jesus. Listener questions, because we've got 5 minutes. I will not pay for the premium Zoom. I refuse to do it. This is a stupid podcast. Why would I spend money on it? One question I want to take on here is, why are our fans so negative? We have the most incredible opportunity to go up. Now, I hope I articulate this in the right way, because, like I say, the whiskey's taking hold. I understand the frustration. There's been a fair bit today about, like, oh, why are our fans so negative, and why do our fans get on the back of players when we're 2-0 down, or like, serves you right, haha, you thought we were going to get beaten, X, Y, and Z. I understand that, and I think it's not an attack on anyone who feels like uber positive or anyone who feels uber negative, but I think what people need to realise across the board with very negative fans or very positive fans is that 99.9% of them are Sunderland fans that want Sunderland to do well. They're just shown in a very different way. If you're getting frustrated about a player not doing well, or a result not going well, or a defendant going bad, you're not getting frustrated because you don't care. You're getting frustrated because you want Sunderland to do well. If you're super duper happy and you want to back the lads even when they make the worst mistake on the planet and we're 2-0 down, you still have that belief that we're going to win 3 or 4-2 or 5-2, and then we do. Neither of those fans are better or worse. They all want exactly the same thing. And I think what we should concentrate on when it comes to, are our fans too negative? Are our fans too positive? Are you a happy clapper? Are you a negative Nancy that like thrives on negativity? Everyone's their own person. Ultimately, our community as a whole wants Sunderland to do well. Just listen to the viewpoint, agree with it, disagree with it. understand that they're not a mag, they're a Sunderland fan, and it's all fine. So I just wanted to answer that question, and I hope I answered it well. But Ross, I'll give you this one. I'm going to ask this across the board. I think I'll leave this as the question because it's a really good question. Pound for pound, is Luke Save Dogs Lives 09 our most important player? Ross, succinct, but I'll ask you that first. I'm going to spread the question about.
I think it's hard, that one, because I think the strength in us this season is we've got so many good players around the board. I don't think he's our most important player, no, but I think he's proved. Oh, I don't know. I actually don't. Jobe, I think, would be up there, but again, they've got so much talent in so many different positions that we've got depth for the first time, other than right back, which is nice. But yeah, I don't think he is. But he's proved today that he really has proved that he's got a big role, especially in the way we play out from the back. Massive, and Brad was right all along. So I apologise, Bradley. You said it from the start.
As was I, but it's fine. Copley, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm tempted to sway by Dan Neil when he's on form, is my answer, but I think Luke O'Nine's a good shout. But if you were to pinpoint the one player you think makes something tick, shall we say, as opposed to most important, because it's always a team game, a squad game, who would get your vote?
It's a really tough one. I think Luke O'Nine's right up there in terms of his leadership ability, his experience. I think his playing out from the back has come on leaps and bounds. I think his game management as well is really good. So there's some facets of the game where Luke O'Nine's definitely leading. I think if you take Dan Neil out of that side in the six, I think the struggle, but the energy of the energy of Jobe Bellingham and Rig in midfield are superb. When Patrick Roberts, I think you said it on the podcast last week, Graham, when Patrick Roberts plays well, Sunderland play well. So you can't rule him out either. I mean, Chris Mepham as well, how important has he been? And I'll pass it over the lads because there's only a couple of minutes left. But I genuinely think there's a number of positions we're well stocked in. And there seems to be important players all over the pitch now, which is good. And I think it would be actually unfair to pinpoint one. I really do.
So what I'm going to do is just ask Dave to pinpoint one right on that cue. Dave, you've got
good luck, Dave.
26 seconds. By the way, Chris Mepham, our best centre-back since Yunus Kabul. Discuss among yourself after the podcast. Dave, who's our most important player in your opinion?
Yeah, it genuinely is Luke O'Nine for me, and not just for his ball playing ability. It's where he's been. It's his experience of being at the likes of Wickham and stuff like that. That we need a couple more of them in January. A couple of people who've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. They will get us over the line. I'm telling you now, it's Wembley playoff joy. I'm calling it now.
And he will get you on the gantry again, Dave. Brad, you're going to finish the pod off, mate. Succinct, because of the whole situation with not paying for YouTube. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean. Who's our most important player? Or do I know the answer to this?
My man, Mr. Luke O'Nien. I said it the other night. I think it was a prime example of how much he brings to the team.
Yeah.
And then when he came on today, we came from behind and won. And then I posted Matt Letizia picture. Makes you think.
I just want to say that before I let you go, that Dave has said about good ball control that he has, and you like Luke O'Nien when we're coming from behind. So I'll leave it at that.
Jobe Bellingham, na 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 na. Jobe